What happens when the person who's supposed to protect you becomes the person you need protection from? NBA Youngboy, one of the biggest rappers in the game right now, with over 11 million YouTube subscribers and billions of streams, has a godmother story that will leave you speechless. Her name is Kyrie, and while she claims she saved him when he had nobody, the truth is far more complicated and disturbing than anyone could imagine. In his song, I'm Bored, Youngboy dropped a line that shocked everyone. Really is. How she entered Youngboy's life when he was just a struggling kid in Baton Rouge. How she was there when his beloved grandmother passed away. And why Youngboy's own mother, Sharonda Golden, threw shade at her on Instagram, saying, "Where was I when other people were raising my kids?" Two sides to every story. Today, we're exposing the full truth about NBA Youngboy's godmother, from the good she did to the disturbing allegations that have everyone talking. Stay until the end, because what we uncover will change how you see this entire situation. Let's get into it. To understand this story, we need to go back to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, where a young Kentrell Golden, better known as NBA Youngboy, was growing up in one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in America. This wasn't a fairy tale childhood. This was survival mode from day one. Kyrie Oliver, also known as Kyrie Garcia, wasn't some random person who stumbled into Youngboy's life. She was a counselor working with the Marine Corps program, specifically assigned to Capitol Middle School in Baton Rouge. Her job was to mentor at-risk youth, kids who were struggling academically, kids who came from poverty, kids who were on the verge of being swallowed up by the streets. According to multiple sources, including an interview Kyrie did with KSL News, she was placed at Capitol Middle School to work with students who were in danger of not graduating. The statistics were grim. In neighborhoods like North Baton Rouge, where Youngboy grew up, the dropout rate was astronomical, and the pipeline from school to prison was very real. For those who don't know the full context, let me paint the picture. North Baton Rouge, in the early 2000s, was a war zone. Young boys were getting recruited by gangs before they hit puberty. Fathers were locked up or dead. Mothers were struggling to survive, and kids like Kentrell were falling through the cracks of a system that had already given up on them. This is where Kyrie entered the story. She was 24 years old when she was assigned to work with 6th grade students at Capitol Middle School. Kentrell Golden was one of those 6th graders, a kid who was already showing signs of the trauma and anger that would later fuel his music. It was just an ordinary day at Capitol Middle School when Kyrie Oliver first encountered the kid who would become one of the biggest rappers in the world. But nobody knew that then. All they saw was a troubled 6th grader who was on the verge of being held back. A kid with anger issues, a kid who was already gravitating toward the streets. According to Kyrie's own account, she was assigned to mentor Kentrell because he was struggling academically. His home life was unstable. His father, Jeffrey Tate, was locked up for 55 years for armed robbery and attempted murder. His mother, Cher, was young and trying to figure out her own life. And while his grandmother, Alice Golden, was doing her best to raise him, she was already in her 60s and dealing with her own health issues. Kyrie saw potential in Kentrell that others didn't see. While teachers were writing him off as another statistic, another kid who would drop out and end up dead or in prison, Kyrie believed he could be something more. She started working with him regularly, helping him with his schoolwork, talking to him about his future, trying to keep him focused on something other than the streets. But here's where the story gets complicated. The relationship between Kyrie and Kentrell went beyond the typical mentor-student dynamic. According to multiple sources, Kyrie became so involved in Kentrell's life that she eventually became his godmother. This wasn't just a professional relationship anymore. This was family, or at least that's what it was supposed to be. The Marine Corps program that brought Kyrie to Capitol Middle School was designed to be temporary. But even after the program ended, Kyrie stayed in Kentrell's life. She continued to mentor him, guide him, and according to her own statements, she was there for him when he had nobody else. Before we can fully understand Kyrie's role in Youngboy's life, we need to talk about the woman who was truly his everything, his grandmother, Alice Golden. Because the truth is, Kyrie didn't step in when Youngboy had no body. She stepped in when he had his grandmother. And later, when his grandmother passed away, the void that was left was something nobody could fill. Alice Golden wasn't supposed to raise her grandson. She was already in her 60s when Kentrell was born in 1999, living in North Baton Rouge on 38th Street in a neighborhood where gunshots were more common than ice cream trucks. But when life fell apart for her daughter Sharonda and her grandson needed someone to step up, Alice didn't hesitate. "My grandma was my everything," Youngboy said in interviews, and you could hear the pain in his voice when he talked about her. "That was my protection, my comfort, my protector." This wasn't just some generic statement about family. This was a young man acknowledging that one person stood between him and complete abandonment. Alice Golden's house on 38th Street became Kentrell's sanctuary, while the streets outside were filled with violence, drugs, and chaos. Inside her home was the only place where he felt safe and loved. Alice Golden didn't just take care of him, she loved him unconditionally in a way that nobody else ever would. She cooked for him, helped him with homework, disciplined him when he acted up, and most importantly, she made him feel like he mattered. But Alice Golden was dealing with her own struggles. She was raising a child on a fixed income in a neighborhood where basic necessities were expensive and hard to come by. She was watching her grandson deal with trauma from his father's absence and his mother's inconsistent presence, and she was trying to protect him from the streets that had already claimed so many young men in their community. The bond between Alice Golden and her grandson was different from typical grandparent relationships. She wasn't the fun grandma who spoiled him on weekends. She was his primary parent, his emotional anchor, and his only source of consistent love. "My grandma gave me anything, Youngboy remembered in interviews. "My grandma made me feel loved. This wasn't just about material things." Alice Golden gave him emotional security that allowed him to develop into someone capable of love and loyalty, even in the midst of chaos. When Alice Golden passed away around 2017 to 2018, NBA Youngboy lost more than just his grandmother. He lost the only person who had ever loved him unconditionally. The impact of this loss cannot be overstated because it fundamentally changed who he was as a person and as an artist. "So as she died, I seen like just this very big difference inside everything," Youngboy explained in interviews. And this difference was immediately apparent to everyone around him. The young man who had always been intense and emotional became even more isolated and guarded after losing his grandmother. "When she died, I ain't never felt that feeling again," Youngboy said, referring to the feeling of being truly loved. This statement reveals the profound impact of Alice Golden's death on his emotional development. The loss of unconditional love at such a crucial time in his life left him unable to trust or connect with people in the same way. The timing of Alice Golden's death was particularly devastating because it came just as Youngboy's career was really taking off. He was achieving the success that she had always believed he could reach, but she wasn't there to see it or share in his accomplishments. This is where Kyrie's role in Youngboy's life becomes more significant. According to her own statements and various sources, Kyrie was there for Youngboy during one of the darkest periods of his life. When Alice Golden died and Youngboy was dealing with grief, legal troubles, and the pressures of a rapidly growing music career, Kyrie stepped up. In her interview with KSL News, Kyrie claimed that she helped guide Youngboy when he was on the verge of being held back in school, and that she continued to be a presence in his life even after he dropped out of high school in 9th grade. She positioned herself as someone who believed in him when others didn't. Someone who saw his potential and tried to keep him on the right path. For those who don't understand the hip-hop industry, this is important context. When young rappers start to blow up, everyone wants a piece of them. Managers, promoters, hangers-on, and people claiming they were there from the beginning all come out of the woodwork. The question becomes, who was really there? And who's rewriting history to benefit from someone else's success? According to multiple sources, Kyrie was indeed in Youngboy's life during his formative years. She was there when he was just Cantrell, a troubled kid from Baton Rouge with big dreams and bigger problems. She mentored him, supported him, and according to her, she never gave up on him, even when he made decisions that could have destroyed his future. But here's where things start to get murky. Youngboy's fans know he ended up spending 2 years on house arrest in Utah. But what most people don't know is that Kyrie Garcia is allegedly the reason he was able to serve that house arrest in Utah instead of sitting in a Louisiana jail. According to sources, Kyrie had connections in Utah and helped facilitate Youngboy's house arrest arrangement there. This was a huge deal. House arrest in Utah, away from the violence and chaos of Baton Rouge, gave Youngboy the space and time to focus on his music without the constant threat of street violence. During those 2 years, he released some of his most successful projects and solidified his position as one of the hottest young rappers in the game. So, on the surface, Kyrie was the godmother who came through when it mattered most. She was there when his grandmother died. She helped him navigate the legal system, and she watched him transform from a troubled kid into a superstar. This should be a heartwarming story about mentorship and loyalty, right? But things were about to get a lot more complicated. Before we get into the disturbing allegations, we need to address the elephant in the room. Youngboy's mother, Sharonda Galden, and her very public shade toward Kyrie. After Kyrie's interview with KSL News, where she talked about stepping into Youngboy's life because his mother wasn't around, Sharonda took to Instagram with a cryptic but pointed message. On her Instagram story, she wrote, "Where was I when other people were raising my kids? Two sides to every don't make me humble your ass." Now, if you've been following NBA Youngboy's story, you know his relationship with his mother has always been complicated. Youngboy himself has said in interviews and songs that his mother wasn't always there for him growing up, that she was young and trying to figure out her own life, and that his grandmother was his primary caregiver. But Cher's Instagram post raises some interesting questions. What was she implying? Was she suggesting that Kyrie's version of events wasn't entirely accurate? Was she hinting that there was more to the story than Kyrie was letting on? And what did she mean by "don't make me humble your ass"? Was that a threat to expose something about Kyrie? To understand this situation, we need to acknowledge the complexity of Black motherhood, especially in communities affected by poverty, incarceration, and systemic racism. Sharonda was a young mother dealing with her own trauma and challenges. Her baby's father was locked up for 55 years. She was trying to survive in one of the most dangerous cities in America. And yes, she made the decision to let her mother raise Cantrell, which many people have criticized her for. Sharonda has also been somewhat open about her struggles and has never completely abandoned her children. She's been present in Youngboy's adult life, and despite their complicated relationship, there's clearly love there. So when Kyrie went on television and essentially said she stepped in because Sharonda wasn't there, it makes sense that Sharonda would feel some type of way about that because from her perspective, she was there, just not in the way that others expected or wanted her to be. But there might be more to Sharonda's shade than just defending her role as a mother. Some fans and observers have speculated that Sharonda knows something about Kyrie's relationship with Youngboy that makes her uncomfortable. The phrase, "don't make me humble your aid," suggests that Sharonda has information that could damage Kyrie's reputation if she chose to reveal it. What could that information be? Well, that brings us to the most disturbing part of this story. In NBA Youngboy's song, "I'm Bored," released in 2020, he rapped a line that made everyone do a double take. "My godmother want to sleep with me. I thought I was your child." Let that sink in for a moment. NBA Youngboy, one of the biggest rappers in the game, publicly stated in his music that his godmother wanted to have a physical relationship with him. The woman who was supposed to be his mentor, his guardian, his protector, allegedly wanted something completely inappropriate from him. Now, Youngboy is known for being brutally honest in his music. He doesn't sugarcoat things, and he doesn't make up stories for shock value. When he says something in a song, it's usually based on real experiences and real feelings. So when he said his godmother wanted to sleep with him, fans immediately started asking questions. Who is he talking about? Was it Kyrie? And if so, what specifically transpired between them? We must examine the timing in order to comprehend this accusation. When Youngboy was 11 or 12 years old, in the 6th grade, Kyrie came into his life. At the time, she was 24 years old. She stayed in touch with him even after he dropped out of high school and served as his advisor throughout middle school. However, Youngboy was 20 years old when he published "I'm Bored" in 2020. In addition, he was a superstar, a millionaire, and one of the most talked about hip-hop performers. He had wealth, notoriety, and power that he lacked as a little child in Baton Rouge. This is where the uncomfortable part starts. According to some admirers, Kyrie's connection with Youngboy wasn't as innocent as she says it was from the start. There are persistent but unsubstantiated claims that Kyrie's participation in Youngboy's life may have gone too far when he was still a juvenile. Due to the lack of proof, these accusations are serious and should be handled carefully. However, these stories have more weight than they normally would because Youngboy himself stated in his songs that his godmother wanted to have sex with him. Many admirers believe that as Kyrie grew wealthy and well-known, his love for Youngboy altered. She served as both his godmother and mentor when he was just Cantrell, a poor child from the neighborhood. However, it's possible that she began to view him differently after he became NBA Youngboy, the successful rapper with millions of admirers. And this wouldn't be the first instance of someone close to a superstar experiencing inappropriate feelings after fame and money became involved. The entertainment industry is replete with tales of people who were friends or even family before their relationship's dynamic was altered by success. However, this is what makes this circumstance that is especially unsettling. Kyrie would have known Little Boy since he was a little child if she had developed romantic or physical feelings for him, regardless of when it occurred. Any relationship that went beyond mentorship would have been a grave betrayal of her authority and trust. As if things weren't weird enough, Kyrie recently had the name of NBA Youngboy permanently inked on her body. The internet went bananas when fans learned about this. Why would a godmother get her godson's name permanently inked? Is this typical godparent conduct, or is it proof of something more profound and improper? Some admirers justified the tattoo, arguing that it's common for godparents to permanently express their love and support for their godchildren. However, the tattoo takes on a far more unsettling significance in light of the little boy's lyrics about his godmother wanting to sleep with him. The tattoo alludes to an obsession and a degree of commitment that beyond typical godparent-child bonds. It depicts a woman who might have violated boundaries that shouldn't have been breached, especially when combined with Youngboy's explicit statement in his music. We must admit that Kyrie contributed to NBA Youngboy's rise to fame despite the unsettling accusations. Based on her own report and other sources, she was present at significant junctures in his professional and personal life. Kyrie is said to have played a key role in putting Youngboy under house arrest in Utah. Youngboy was able to concentrate on his music and advance his career during those 2 years in Utah. Away from the bloodshed of Baton Rouge, he recorded albums like A Ya Youngboy, Until Death, Call My Name, and Reeler at that period, both of which were extremely successful and cemented his place in the rap business. Kyrie witnessed Youngboy's transformation from a young child who might not complete middle school to one of the world's most successful rappers. She's seen him amass millions of dollars, millions of fans, and millions of streams. Additionally, she claims that she never lost sight of his origins or the challenges he faced along the way. Kyrie has presented herself in interviews as someone who supported Youngboy at a time when no one else did, someone who recognized his potential and assisted him in reaching it. She sees herself as a part of his path and is pleased of his achievements. To be fair, Youngboy has admitted Kyrie's significance in his life. He hasn't publicly condemned her or cut her off entirely, despite the unsettling line in "I'm bored." This implies that their relationship is complex, whatever it may be. Perhaps she was a big assistance to him. Perhaps he is appreciative of what she accomplished for him. But perhaps he also feels she was uneasy about the way her feelings for him changed. Is it possible for someone to be both beneficial and detrimental? Is it possible for someone to have inappropriate sentiments for you and still truly care for you? Yes, is the response. And that's the reason this issue is so challenging. Kyrie might have had a sincere desire to see Youngboy prosper. She might have seen his potential and made a concerted effort to steer him in the proper direction. However, if she also became attracted to him romantically or physically, particularly when he was still a juvenile, her assistance comes with a very sinister side. NBA Youngboy and his godmother are not the only characters in this tale. It concerns the vulnerability of young people in the entertainment industry, power relations, and exploitation. There is an inherent power imbalance when adults are given authority over youngsters and teenagers. Godparents, mentors, teachers, and counselors all have an impact on the lives of young people. Additionally, that influence might be applied either positively or negatively. If the accusations against Kyrie are accurate, she would have misused her position of authority if she had inappropriate affections for the young kid or acted on them. She would have taken exploitation of a helpless young man who relied on her for support and direction and trusted her. Young talent has always been used by adults in the entertainment industry. The allegations are plentiful and unsettling, ranging from producers who demand physical favors to managers who embezzle money due to their intense desire for achievement and willingness to put up with unethical behavior if they believe it would advance their careers. Young artists, especially those from impoverished and challenging backgrounds, are especially vulnerable. NBA Youngboy had nothing at all. His mother was incarcerated. He was raised in poverty, and he was surrounded by violence. Found it difficult to be present. He most likely felt appreciative and obligated to Kyrie when she came into his life and offered guidance and assistance. He would have been in a very challenging situation if she had then developed unwanted affections for him. When you had nothing, how can you turn away someone who helped you? When someone has authority over you, how do you establish boundaries? The way society handles male victims of illicit relationships with older women is another crucial topic to discuss. People frequently don't take a young man's relationship with an older lady seriously, especially if he's affluent and successful. They joke around. They give him congratulations. They pretend it doesn't matter. If the roles were reversed, however, and the story was about a 24-year-old male mentoring an 11-year-old girl and then reportedly wanted to have sex with her once she got famous, everyone would see it as predatory and inappropriate right away. Regardless of gender, the same standard need to be used. NBA, my godmother wants to sleep with me, is the line from Youngboy. I thought I was your child as a plea for assistance, an expression of bewilderment and deceit. You were, he says. You were meant to be my family and my guardian, but now you want something from me that you shouldn't. No matter how old he was at the time or how successful and wealthy he is now, that was painful. When you take a broad view, the tale of NBA Youngboy and his godmother Kyrie is a complex blend of sincere assistance, dubious intentions, and possibly predatory actions. On the one hand, Youngboy was having difficulties when Kyrie came into his life. She did encourage him, advise him, and, according to some accounts, assist him in overcoming challenging circumstances, such as his house detention in Utah. She saw him grow from a disturbed child to a celebrity, and she takes pride in the part she played in that change. However, Youngboy's own lyrics in his songs imply that Kyrie violated lines that ought never to be crossed. His claim that his godmother desired to have sex with him is unsettling and calls into question the nature of their connection. She just got his name tattooed, which only heightens the suspicion that her emotions for him go beyond typical godparent adoration. There may be more to this story than what has been made public. According to Shurhanda Galdan's mysterious Instagram post, "Don't make me humble, you're a," she warns Kyrie, implying that she possesses knowledge that could harm Kyria's standing if she decided to divulge it. This story still has a lot of unsolved questions. What kind of feelings does Kyrie have for Youngboy? Did they have any inappropriate interactions? And if so, when? What is it that Sharonda is threatening to divulge? Why did Kyrie get a tattoo of Youngboy's name? What is Youngboy's current true attitude toward Kyrie? Due to the party's desire to keep some information confidential, these questions may never be fully addressed. However, what we do know is plenty to raise significant worries about the susceptibility of young people in the entertainment business, power relations, and exploitation. Ultimately, NBA The Tale of Youngboy serves as a reminder that neither wealth nor success can make trauma go away. Since losing his grandma, the only person who truly loved him, he has been yearning for that emotion. One of the saddest things a person can say is, "The only time I ever feel love is when I walk on stage." He might have benefited from Kyrie's assistance in certain ways, but it would have come at a price if she had also betrayed his confidence and crossed boundaries. And the small boy will bear that expense with him. Throughout the remainder of his days, NBA Youngboy's relationship with his godmother Kyrie serves as a warning about the value of setting limits, the peril of power disparities, and the intricacy of interpersonal relationships. Because it doesn't neatly fall into categories of good and bad, beneficial and harmful, this story unnerves us. We can tell with certainty that NBA Youngboy was deserving of better. He should have had elders in his life who looked out for him without demanding anything in return. He should have grown up without having to deal with incorrect emotions from mentors who upheld proper boundaries. Someone who was meant to be his protector. When he warns us that something is wrong, we as supporters and onlookers must listen carefully. When male victims report inappropriate connections, we must trust them, and we must hold adults responsible for abusing their authority over youth. With millions of admirers and millions of dollars, NBA Youngboy is now a superstar. However, he is also a young guy who has endured more tragedy in his lifetime than most individuals. Because it is honest, his music has great power. Because he doesn't pretend everything is fine or conceal his suffering. "My godmother wants to sleep with me," he said after rapping. "I believed I was your offspring." He was sharing some crucial information with us. Are we paying attention? Please share your comments in the comments section below. If this news stunned you, do you believe Kyrie went too far? What do you suppose Sharonda is keeping to herself? What impact, in your opinion, did this circumstance have on NBA Youngboy's capacity for trust? Tell me in the comments. Additionally, confirm that you are subscribed, as we will maintain revealing the true biographies of your favorite performers. Tranquility.